Jewel, really grateful for you giving us a little bit of time to talk about mindfulness, about human kindness. I wonder how you see those two together. How do you see human kindness and mindfulness?
I began to have to really simplify my life into very clear, delineated things so that I could begin to understand all of my actions in a simple way, because neuroses, anxieties, these types of things can be so complex. They can be quite overwhelming to figure out, how do I handle depression?
Right.
How do I handle the entanglement of family issues? So I'm always looking for, how do you boil things down to sort of an elegant, very simple solution? I began to see everything in two forms. We're either in a state of expansion or dilation, or we're in a state of contraction. And so if you start to define every single emotion, they're gonna go into one of those two buckets. So when you feel kind, you're in a state of expansion. Everybody can feel it when I just mention the word kind. When you're grateful, you feel this dilation. When you mention the word giving, all these words, joy, all of these things are expansive. When you mention anger, when you mention jealousy, when you mention a lot of those other words, you can tell intuitively in your body you feel contractive. Right. And so I literally just began saying, how can I keep myself in a dilated or expansive state? And that began to be the framework for when I started to have to tackle specific parts of my neural wiring, of my behaviors.
That tended to close you down, those things?
Yeah, I could notice, oh, I'm doing this. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now what can I do to make me do this? And that started to be the antidote. And when I looked at things that simply, is what I'm saying right now an act of love or an act of the opposite?
Yes, right.
Because love is this.
Yeah.
The opposite is this.
And
so,
this.
yeah. And so I just kept looking at it. And so kindness, gratitude, a sense of community, giving mercy, giving when you're at your worst, it all puts you into an expansive state, which on a purely selfish level makes you feel better. And it makes you available on a community level. It's doing the right thing because it makes others feel better.
Yeah, it's such a simple thing in that way. So I'm curious, I wonder if you've ever thought, so you have this spectacular platform to be able to talk about mindfulness and now in this conversation, mindfulness and human kindness. If you didn't have this platform, have you ever imagined what an alternative life would have been for you? How do you think this would have emerged for you? Have you ever wondered about that?
I knew I wanted to be happy. And so I had to be dedicated to finding out what made me happy every day. And so this has been my life's mission. It's all I've cared about. Yeah. My job ended up being a side effect of my desire, my fight for happiness. To live, to be free of pain, to be free of preconditioning, to live a life that is mine and not what I was wired to do as a child. And that's what I wrote my songs about. And that ended up becoming a living for me. I didn't try to become a singer. I didn't set out being like, I'm gonna be a famous musician. Exactly. I was just like, writing makes me less anxious. I'm gonna write about my mindfulness, what I'm working on, and that's why I wrote Hands. That's why I wrote Who'll Save Your Soul. Beautiful. That's why I wrote Angel Standing By. And people responded, and it gave me a living. And then when I had a divorce and I was 40 and I had a life change that was really unexpected, what interested me was the exact same thing. How do I transmute pain into something beautiful? How do we make beautiful things out of broken things? Why aren't we taught what to do with pain and how to transmute it into something useful? Where we don't end up broken, where we end up more living, more giving, more resilient, more kind.
Right.
And this has turned into me sharing the practices that have helped me do it. But for me, I feel like it's the same job. It's what I've always done. And it's been purely out of my own desire for my own happiness, as selfish as that sounds. It's been a gift for me. And if it's been a gift for anybody else, I'm very grateful for that.
Well, there's a way we think about human kindness that I think you're talking about embodying. We think about acts of kindness, and we think about acts of humanity. So if I were to go get you a glass of water, that would be an act of kindness. You're capable of going and getting water, but I could be kind and get you water. But if you didn't have access to clean water, and I participated with you in correcting that injustice, that's an act of humanity. And you're doing both of those. There's ways in which you do kind acts, And there's also ways in which you're correcting things that in a perfect world wouldn't need to be corrected. And those are those acts of humanity. And our goal in Dignity Health is to marry that we want to be kind in the way we care for patients. We also want to have acts of humanity where we shift the injustices, in particular with healthcare, but in poverty and in vulnerability of human trafficking. So that blending together is kind of what you have ended up doing because you wanted to live and you wanted to have joy.
Yeah, I think that once you go down the rabbit hole of what is self-love, you're going to be led into what is loving another. And then you're going to be led into what is loving the community. Yeah. And so once you start in a positive way getting addicted to the good stuff, being kind, being expansive, you look for it everywhere and you find yourself wanting to be a part of it in every aspect